Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, Text 1. Shri Bhagavan Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sa Sannyasi Cha Yogi Cha Naniragnirna Chakriya.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty.
Text 2. Yam sanyasamiti prahur yogam tam vidi pandava naya asannashyata sankalpo yogi bhavati chashchana.
What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
Text 3. Arukshor munar yogam karma karanam uchyate yoga ruttasya tasyeva samakaranam uchyate.
For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
Text 4. Yata hinendriyartheshu na karmasva anushachate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga ruttastadochate.
A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
Text 5. Uttarat atmanatmanam natmanam avasatayat Atmeva hayatmano bandhur Atmeva ripu atmanaha.
One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.
Text 6. Bandhuratma manastasya yenatmeva atmanajitaha anatmanastu satrutve vartatmeva satruvat.
For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy.
Text 7. Chitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahitaha sitoshna sukha dukkeshu tatha manapam anayoha.
For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. For he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Text 8. Jnana vijnana traptatma kutasto vichitendriya yukta iti uchyate yogi samalushtrashma kanchanaha.
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be a pebble, stone, or gold, as the same.
Text 9. Shrun mitreri udasina madhyasta dveshya bandashu sadhush api cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral meditators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
Text 10. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashira prigraha.
A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness.
Text 11 to 12. Suchodesi pratishtapya stiram asanam atmanaha nati uchritam nati nicham kelakjina kushotaram tatrika agram mana kritva yata chittindriya kriyaha Upavishyasane yukjya yogam atma vishuddhaya.
To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
Text 13 to 14. Samam kaya siro grivam tarayan achalam stiraha samprekshya nashikragram swam dishashjana valokayan prashantatma vigattabhir brahmachari vrite stitaha mana samyamya machitto yukta ashitta matparaha.
One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life.
Text 15. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogina yatta manasaha santim nirvana paramam matsamstam adhigacchati.
Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and the activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence.
Text 16. Nati asnatastu yogasti nachaikantam anashnataha nachati swapnasilasya jagrato neva arjuna.
There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, If one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or doesn't sleep enough.
Text 17. Yuktahara viharasya yuktachetasya karmashu yuktasvapna स्वप्नावबोधस्य yoga bhavati dukkha.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Text 18. Yada viniyatam chittam atmani eva vatishtate nishpraha sarva kamebhyo yukta iti uchatata.
When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga.
Text 19. Yatha dipo nivatestaho nengate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogam atmanaha.
As a lamp in a windless place doesn't waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self.
Text 20 to 23. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chevatmanatmanam pashyanatmani tushyati sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigrayam atindriyam veti yatra na chevayam स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा च परं लभ्यं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचल्यते तं विद्यत् दुःखसंयोगा Viyogam yoga samnitam.
In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contract.
Text 24. Sanishchayena yuktavyo yoga nirvina chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam tyaktva sarvan ashishataha manasvindriya gramam viniyamya samantataha.
One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind.
Hare Krishna. Sorry for any mistakes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. No, there were no mistakes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you all of you for joining us again today. And from yesterday, we've started the 6th chapter. So today we'll discuss the chapter 6, verse number 2. Just give me 1 minute while I get my... Slideshow. Okay. Let me just get it up on my phone as well. Sorry, I'm just getting the verse up. Yeah, okay. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, verse number 2. Yam sanyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Does anybody want to read the purport? Okay. So I'll read it. Real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as the living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one seizes all material sense gratification or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as prescribed in the jnana and yoga processes is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshadarine. Okay, so very instructive verse and very, very instructive purport actually. Prabhupada is giving us very important instructions here in this purport. So let's see. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that the living entity is the marginal energy of the Supreme. So we are part and parcel of Krishna. We have discussed this many times. And we don't have the freedom not to serve Krishna. We have a choice whether we serve the material energy of Krishna or we serve the spiritual energy of Krishna. So Prabhupada uses this analogy that, it is almost like if you've gone to the beach and you're standing on the seashore, the waves, so the water of the sea comes as waves and it touches your feet and goes back. So sometimes your feet is wet, it is in the water, sometimes it is on the sand. So us marginal energy, the living entity, is like that. We are either at times under the influence of the material energy or we are under the influence of the spiritual energy. So Prabhupada is saying that we have no separate independent identity. We have to understand that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller and we are being controlled. We may have minute independence and we may have a little bit of control. Like even the small ant thinks that it is in control of some of the things, which is right. We are also in control of some things, but the supreme controller is Krishna. And Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. But somehow when we come under the influence of the material energy, we want to enjoy independently, separate to Krishna. And when we have that kind of consciousness, we are constantly being put under misery. There's constant entanglement, there's constant misery. Because like Prabhupada is saying that our constitutional position is to be part of Krishna, to serve Krishna. But because we forget that, that is why we are put in constant misery. Our life, the life of a living entity, but life of the human form, when we are given this human form, is only meant for one purpose, and that is to serve Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying, the first statement that Prabhupada makes in the purport is real sannyas yoga or bhakti. See the way he is using sannyas yoga and bhakti as same. So he's saying real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know the constitutional position. So we should know that and we have to act accordingly. A Krishna conscious person is simultaneously, he's a sannyasi and a yogi. Very important to understand that the term yogi or yoga, what does yoga mean? Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. Yoga does not simply mean performing various asanas or physical actions in order to have a healthy body. That is the superficial meaning of yoga. But actual yoga means where you are able to connect with Krishna, where you are enthusiastic to serve Krishna, where your only desire and the only purpose of your life is to please Krishna. And one may think that, one has to perform various austerities for these things. But again, in the purport, Prabhupada is very clearly saying that just by performing different kind of austerities under the Jnana Yoga and, performing various other yogic exercises, if it is only for your selfish purpose, then it is a complete waste. In our scriptures, we have got many examples of personalities who have performed great austerities, but those austerities were not being performed to please Krishna. They were being performed to satisfy their own selfish desires. Can anybody come up with some examples of some of these personalities who performed great austerities? I'm sure there are quite a few. Maybe just come up with some personalities. Anybody?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
Is it Sobri Muni?
Sobri Muni was not performing austerities for a selfish desire. Unfortunately, he was not able to control his senses. But initially, when he started, he was performing austerities to attain liberation. So Sobri Muni would not be the exact example for this. He fell down because he was not able to control his senses.
Hiranyakashipu?
Yes. Yes, we've got Hiranyakashipu, we've got Ravana as well. So we've got such personalities who performed great austerities. So what is important to understand is performing great austerities by itself. And Prabhupada says this, just performing great austerities is a complete waste if you are not connecting with Krishna. He says over here in the purport, he says, if one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. So it is a complete waste. And we see that in the lives of these personalities who were able to control their senses. They were able to control senses, perform severe austerities, but they were for a selfish nature. There was no linking with Krishna, and that then is a complete waste. So what we have to understand, and that is what Prabhupada is explaining in this purport, there is no point or there is no need to perform these severe austerities. Just by becoming Krishna conscious, one will actually get the benefits of performing all kinds of austerities. That is the main point. Let's look at this further. So again, what is being explained over here is what is actual sannyas or what is true renunciation. We have discussed about renunciation many times in our talks over here on these sessions. The most important thing about renunciation is to do what is pleasing to Krishna. What pleases Krishna? What is Krishna through the scriptures and through our acharyas asking us to do, advising us what is the right thing to do? Some of the things that, this list is not exhaustive. There are many other things that one could think of. But what I just thought of was these few things that what pleases Krishna? What pleases Krishna is being merciful. When we talk about being merciful, what do we mean being merciful? What is the meaning of being merciful? Anybody? So when you look at it from a materialistic point of view, being merciful could mean that, you are helping other living entities, other human beings, you're performing charity activities, which is great. But for a Krishna conscious person, being merciful is when he is able to share this transcendental knowledge about Krishna with everybody. That is real sannyas. And that is real bhakti. How can you share knowledge unless you absorb the knowledge yourself? Right? And so it is so important to understand the Bhagavad Gita, to study the Bhagavad Gita, to understand Krishna's instructions from the Gita, and then share it with others. That is one way of being merciful. Of course, there are so many other things that one could do, but that is one way of being merciful, that we understand this knowledge, we apply it in our own lives, and then we share it with others. Then the other thing is being compassionate to all living entities. Devotees generally, compassion comes with it. Once you take to pleasing Krishna, you realize that pleasing Krishna means pleasing all his children. And one will notice that devotees, show compassion in so many different ways. Of course, by associating, by sharing the knowledge, by giving prasad. Devotees even want to give crumbs to ants because they are living entities as well. So, by giving prasad, you are actually helping all the living entities, right? Then there are other devotional activities that one can perform. And we've discussed this many times. You can perform so many devotional activities to please Krishna. There's so many things going on at the manor every single day. And we all, with our own, capacity in whatever way possible, we can be part of that. And then finally, of course, is use your talents in Krishna's service. You like painting and drawing, use that for Krishna's service. If you like music, singing, sing for Krishna. Many people like cooking, cook for Krishna. So the whole idea is that try and do things which will please Krishna. That is actual sannyas. That is actual real renunciation. And the how and where are details. How one does things, where one does things, those are actually details, because we have to bear in mind that we are all individuals. We all have our individual relation with Krishna. So what I may be doing is something that I feel is right for me, or I can do it. That is between me and Krishna. So let's look at these examples. We have different kinds of devotees who perform their devotional activities in different ways. And that is between them and Krishna. We don't need to imitate anybody, or we don't need to judge anybody. So here we have two examples. One is of a very wonderful personality from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi actually was a great transcendentalist. And the story goes, and I'll again say it very briefly. The story goes that one day, Mukunda Dutt, knowing what a great devotee Pundarik Vidyanidhi is, he asked Gadadhar Pandit he said to Gadadhar Pandit, I want you to come with me to a place of a wonderful devotee. I want you to meet him. And so Mukunda Dutt and Gadadhar Pandit visited Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And when they went to his place of residence, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was seated on this very palatial bed with silken pillows and covers, and his whole room was decorated with mirrors, and it was a very opulent house. So when Gadadhar Pandit saw the opulence, in his mind he was thinking, where has Mukunda Dutt got me? This doesn't look like a devotee. He looks like somebody who is just interested in sense gratification. And Mukunda Dutt, understanding what thoughts are going through Gadadhar Pandit's mind, he started actually singing a song. And that song was describing the pastime of Putana, how Putana had come when Lord Krishna was just a few months old to kill him, pretending to be, a loving motherly lady, and she had poison smeared on her breast. and she tried to feed Krishna the poison. But Krishna, so merciful, because she tried to feed him, he gave her liberation. And in the upper planets and in Krishna's loka, she became a mother. So when he started singing this song, just listening to the pastime and thinking about his Lord, Pundarik Vidyanidhi lost all external consciousness. And he was so absorbed in the Leela of Krishna that he didn't know what he was doing. And at that time, Gadadhar Pandit realized what a great devotee Pundarik Vidyanidhi is. So on one hand, we have a personality like Pundarik Vidyanidhi who externally looked like he is just enjoying the material nature. He's just focusing on his sense pleasures. And then on the other hand, we have such devotees or yogis who don't even stay under one tree continuously for 2 nights so that they don't develop any kind of attachment. But the point here is that every devotee is different. Every individual devotee is different. Every individual devotee has got his own personal relation with Krishna. We don't have to change our nature, or we don't have to perform severe austerities, I'm going to say, I want to perform austerities and it is freezing cold. I'm going to stand in the back garden in my house and I'm going to chant all my 16 rounds. Krishna doesn't want you to do that. Krishna does not want you to hurt your body. What we have to do is, in whichever position we are, whatever is our nature, try to please Krishna. Try to perform activities that will please Krishna. And what happens is, when you start performing these kinds of activities, or you start to thinking of pleasing Krishna all the time, then automatically you start becoming detached from the external material nature and from thinking of your own sense gratification. So this is actually explained very nicely by Bhishma Dev, and Bhishma Dev explains that gradually our heart becomes so full of Krishna there is no other place for any other thing. Of course, that does not mean that you stop performing your duty. See, that is what is being explained, that you still continue to perform your duty, fulfill all your responsibilities, but knowing that the actual purpose of life is to become connected with Krishna. So Bhakti Yoga actually makes us detached from the material world. And how the process is very nicely explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 2, verse number 42. So it says, I'll read the translation. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. So devotional service is being compared to the eating process. And this analogy is so, it's just amazing because it is being explained in such a simple way. So let's look at it this way. When you're extremely hungry, and you're given a plate of prasad and you start eating, with each bite, your hunger is getting satisfied. And eventually, you are completely full. At that time, when somebody brings to you, they say, do you want more rice? Do you want some more prasad? Maybe sabzi, one more puri? You say, no, I'm full. Or maybe a little bit of, sweet rice, kheer, just a little bit, or maybe a little bit of ice cream. Yeah, okay, maybe a little bit of ice cream. Yeah, that's it. But you're satisfied. When you're satisfied at that time, even if the most delicious gulab jamun is kept in front of you and that is your favorite dessert, you just don't have the place for it. You're just so full. So you can't. Devotional service is like that. when you start the process of devotional service, you are satisfied with it. That these, sorry, can you all hear? Okay.
It's a little feeble, Mataji.
Okay. I don't know, something, my
Now,
AirPods.
now it's better. Yeah, now it's better.
Yeah, my AirPods suddenly got connected for some reason. I just got a message. That's why I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying that when you perform devotional service, you become so satisfied that, you know, the mundane material things do not interest you anymore. Like, you know, you're watching movie, or you're playing some games or whatever else that you're doing, you suddenly kind of start to think, what is the point? What is the purpose of this? And so slowly what happens is that you lose interest because you are so full. You're so full with devotional service. Your heart is so full with love for Krishna that nothing else really interests you. Same way as when you eat, when you're hungry, when you eat, but you're full, you don't want to eat anymore. So exactly the same way. I'm just going to stop share. So the essence of renunciation is that we always put Krishna first. Krishna's satisfaction, making Krishna happy, doing things that will please Krishna, that should be our thought constantly. That is the essence of renunciation, and that is what actual Krishna consciousness means. Now, we are not saying that it is easy. It's something that we have to practice. Krishna consciousness has to be practiced. It doesn't just come automatically. Like anything in life, for anything, one has to practice it. Make conscious endeavors, you know, try your best. Even in the material world, we always are trying to do things. Same way, when you want to become Krishna consciousness, when you realize the higher purpose, when you understand that this life is not meant for pleasing yourself or for sense gratification, because you also realize that what is it going to serve me at the end of this life? After death, what is going to happen? When you understand these things, when you ask these questions and you realize, then you will want to please Krishna, keep Krishna in the center at all times. So I'm going to stop here now. I hope that the verse and the purport made sense. So of course, the key points that we need to take away from today's verse and purport is that we are constitutionally part and parcel of Krishna. We are the marginal energy. We have the choice whether we want to be under the influence of the spiritual energy or the material energy. Real sannyas is same as bhakti yoga. Prabhupada says sannyas yoga or bhakti is the same, because sannyas and bhakti both is doing the same thing, which is putting Krishna in the center, trying to satisfy and please Krishna always. Otherwise, there is no point in performing jnana yoga or other kind of yogic activities if we are not getting rid of our selfish desires. Thank you very much. If there are any realizations or comments, please feel free to unmute yourself. No questions? Okay, that's wonderful. So if you all are satisfied and if there are no questions or comments, then maybe we can end our session here. Thank you all of you for joining. Thank you for joining every single day. It's wonderful to have your association. And hopefully I will see you next Wednesday.
Vanchakalpatrubhya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Wonderful
Hare
class.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much
Krishna.
for the wonderful class.